Lying on the ground as Good Samaritans desperately try CPR to keep him alive as Interstate 10 traffic backs up for miles.
They advised the driver shooting, Hispanic male, tan shirt, holding a really big gun, shooting at another car.
Investigators say it started around 6 last night. Two suspects in a dark sedan ramming into this silver car, forcing it to spin out. Witnesses say one suspect jumped out of his car, firing what appeared to be an AR-15 rifle.
In the year of 2019, the city of Houston had a crime rate of 280 murders, 1,300 rapes, 9,160 robberies, 17,000 burglaries, and 71,758 thefts. But on one tragic summer evening, two Louisiana out-of-towners would eventually realize that they were playing with the wrong ones in the wrong city. In the evening of August 8, 2019, 24-year-old Javier Hernandez was cutting hair in his barbershop on Wayside when 25-year-old Bradley Barker texted Javier's phone and asked him for a haircut and some green, which translates to Barker asking to get a haircut and weed. Javier agreed to supply Barker with $4,000 worth of weed in exchange for money. Javier called and notified his friend Jonathan Aleman about the upcoming transaction to come to the barbershop. Aleman drove a black Chevrolet Impala to the barbershop and met with Hernandez before Barker showed up. Minutes later, Barker and his friend 33-year-old Binal Gazeri pulled up to the barbershop in a white Nissan Sentra. Eventually both Javier and Jonathan got into the back of Barker's vehicle when the buyers held them at gunpoint and then proceeded to pistol whip Jonathan in the face, and they robbed Javier for the weed and of any cash he had on him. Jonathan and Javier both stumbled out of the car as the robbers sped off. Javier and Jonathan both got into a black Impala along with another individual, Ricardo Casaya, and chased after the robbers. The three chased the two robbers through neighborhoods and freeways. Javier was the driver and eventually caught up to the two individuals driving the Nissan Sentra on the I-10 East Freeway. Javier collided with Barker's vehicle, causing it to spin out of control, and both cars stopped in the middle lane. With Barker's front windshield facing Javier's car, the robbers attempted to reverse and escape, but Jonathan Aleman hopped out of the Impala with a Glock pistol equipped with a buttstock and an extended clip. He rushed over to the robbers' vehicle and unloaded over 20 shots into the Nissan Sentra, instantly killing both Bradley Barker and Binal Gazeri. Nearby witnesses thought the shooter had an AK-47 assault rifle, thinking it was a mass shooter on the freeway. As Jonathan was shooting, a random Good Samaritan not involved hopped out and started shooting at Jonathan until Jonathan stopped shooting, got back in his car, and fled the scene back to the barbershop. Surveillance video from the barbershop after the shooting showed Javier making multiple phone calls and at one point making a hand gesture toward a customer, a hand across his neck, which is associated with the death of someone. The first officers on the crime scene found the victims already dead with a large trash bag full of marijuana, 4 cell phones, and each victim had $1,000 cash in each of their pockets. It was later found out that the victims could not shoot back because they had used fake replica toy guns in the robbery, and the police found no real firearms in the vehicle. The good lone bystander who shot at the shooter was not arrested but was applauded by the police department. Both victims were from Gary, Louisiana, 60 miles on the outskirts of New Orleans, and they both leave behind a wife and son. As the investigation continued, detectives were receiving tips of a robbery gone bad but could not pinpoint the shooter. It wasn't until 6 months later, on February 28, 2020, when Jonathan Aleman was pulled over and arrested on unrelated outstanding warrants. A detective told reporters he told Jonathan that he was investigating a murder on the freeway, chasing 2 males from Louisiana and a drug trip. The detective said, when he said that, Jonathan immediately knew which incident he was talking about. Jonathan told the detective, "I made global news. It was on every news station." Through the course of the interview, Jonathan demonstrated detailed knowledge of the crime. He told detectives that he and Hernandez set up a $4,000 drug deal with the two victims, but it turned into a robbery. Jonathan said that he left the location in a black Impala and chased the 2 men down who had just robbed them, the detective wrote. Jonathan told him that he stopped in the middle of the freeway during rush hour traffic to take care of some dirty work. When asked about the shooting, he said, "I knew who I was looking for and I wasn't trying to hurt anybody but them," implicating himself as the gunman. He also told detectives that his friend Javier told him if he did not handle his dirty work, then Javier would kill his family. He then told the detective that the firearm he used in the killing, he destroyed the firearm with a blowtorch and buried it. Jonathan and Javier were both booked on an $888,888 bond for capital murder, and the last suspect, Ricardo Casaya, who was also in the vehicle at the time of the murder. A week later, Casaya was served a warrant when they say he ran and jumped into the bayou. The police searched the water, but he could not be found. On November 1, 2023, Jonathan pleaded guilty to murder in exchange for 60 years in prison, escaping the death penalty. He cannot appeal the conviction or the sentence and must serve at least half of the prison sentence before he is eligible for parole.